So here we are again, hopefully with improved quality for all of you. Alright, so now we're seeing it sloping a little bit more to the downside. So again, I'm expecting to see a retracement to about this blue line, the 60k level. And then it's going to be very interesting to see if it holds, if it sticks there, and we see a pullback right up. Then I'm pretty sure we're gonna see a new all-time high moving above 62k and then probably even further. Or whether we're actually gonna see a further correction down below this level, then definitely next level would be around this here 58k where this pump started. And if we break below there, we're gonna see 55k right after that, which then already would be quite a heavy correction. But as I said earlier, and I'm gonna show you again right here, we are really lucky right now because we are seeing actually that the funding rate in the future market is very low compared to previous moves higher. Let me show you that right here. So funding rate means ultimately how many people are trading futures right now, how many people are trading Bitcoin in a leverage way. And you can see here previously when we hit recent all-time highs at the 57k level, we had a very high funding rate. So small retracement that we saw afterwards triggered a lot of liquidations and a big move lower to 46k. Same happened when we made the 60k all-time high. We had quite high funding rates, and so it was very easy to trigger retracement because of all the liquidations down to 51k. Now on our move up here to 60k, we're actually seeing that the funding rate is quite low, much lower compared to the previous all-time highs that we have made. So that's why I think, one, there's much more upside in the cards right now because a lot of the people are not in the market yet. And two, if we're going to see that retracement further that I just mentioned, below the 60k level down to the 55k level, it's actually very likely that we will not see like accelerated momentum move to the downside because there's not a lot of leverage in the market. So there's not a lot of orders that will be liquidated at that point, accelerating the move downwards further. And that will give us actually the chance to have only small consolidation, small retracement before we find the strength to move up higher. And right now, actually, as you can see down here with the volume, this move towards 60k, it's happening on much lower volume. Volume has been continuously declining since we've seen that pull up, that rise, targeting a new all-time high within the last 2 hours. And so that's actually also still a good sign. Europe is waking up right now. There should be a lot of more money, a lot of more volume coming in right now. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of traders that are just waiting to buy that dip right there around the 60k level and push Bitcoin back up to the next all-time high. So if you're looking for an entry right now, that's actually also what I would be recommending personally. I'm looking to add to my position at the 60k level if it holds. And that's going to be a very high probability, low risk entry, because at this point in time, you can put your stop right here around 59,400, 59,500. Mental stop, that is, because we know we can see a lot of volatility, so wouldn't actually put a stop there. You can be pretty certain that that stop might or will be triggered. But that's about the level. If we see like an hourly close below that level, that would invalidate that trade setup, where I would imagine we would see more downside first. But if we don't see an hourly close below the 60k level, this area here around 60k, it's going to be a good point to buy into this rise, to buy into the possibility that we will see another all-time high today, over the weekend, within the next few hours. And it's looking increasingly more likely that this will actually happen as we're starting into the European morning of weekend trading Bitcoin here. And guys, if you remember, Bitcoin has actually made a lot of all-time highs over the weekends, over the last few months. So there's a high probability that this will happen again. And right now, it still looks very healthy. Let's switch back over to the Bloomberg real quick and see if there's already any news coming in that we should watch out for on the crypto monitor right here. And as we can see, there is nothing recent. What are they saying actually about the shoot up here? So, alright, Bitcoin's price neared its all-time high of 61,700 early Saturday, while Ether set a new all-time high at 2,190. According to CoinGate, Bitcoin pulled back marginally after peaking around 6,900, though it remains above the psychological marker as of press time. Bitcoin last hit an all-time high in mid-March. So it's about time, guys. It's about time. At least one all-time high every month should be in the cards, right? And Ether has been pulling up at the same time. So overall, that's very good for the crypto space. And as I've been showing you earlier, we can switch back there right now to give you an idea of the funding rate in Ethereum. It actually looks much the same, and that's a very good sign. That's a very good sign that we have a similarly low funding rate in Ethereum. And you can also see it's pretty much the same picture. When we made the all-time high around 1,930, we had a very, very high funding rate of about 0.1, sorry. It doesn't sound that high, but it is, as you can see, also relatively. So what happened was there was, of course, profit taking. Every new all-time high will always come with profit taking. And so that profit taking actually then triggered all these leveraged trades, liquidation orders. And so we were able to have a considerable pullback down to 1,400. And then the same happened again when we moved up to 1,900 again. Funding rate spiked and we saw again profit taking and then a big dip towards the 1,700 level. Now, on this new move higher, this new all-time highs, continuous all-time highs over the 2K level, we are not seeing the funding rate anywhere on that level. The funding rate has actually been declining. So that's a very, very positive sign for the market. It's a very positive sign that actually we'll be able to see more upside. And even if we're going to see a correction downwards, then it most likely will not extend that far. There will not be a lot of velocity, there will be no liquidation or much less liquidation orders triggered, and that will be good for us because it will allow to keep the momentum, to only have a small retracement and then to continue upwards, as is probably going to happen right now. Again, waiting to see if we're going to hit the 60k level and how price will react around that. Most likely we will not see a break below. It's possible, it's always in the cards, we never know, but I'm still considering that the rejection that we have been seeing here on this strong move upward, it was very, very weak. And since then, we have been kind of like just trickling down, still holding above 60k, still holding above that important psychological level. And so I think there's a really, really good chance that around that 60k level, there will be buying coming in. Again, there's still some guys taking profits here, but you can see why also this, I mean, 60k is a very important psychological level, but if we go to the daily chart here and we look back a little bit, we can see that this has actually been a resistance over the last few days and weeks, the 60k level. After we have been above it, it's been a resistance and we've hit it almost 3 times and we didn't manage to break through it again. Now we managed to break through, and now this resistance has a very good chance to turning into support. So the 60k level will be the new floor, or might be the new floor for this next move up higher. And that's what we're looking for right here. Alright guys, some action coming into the market. Switch back to the 15 minutes so we can get some higher resolution and see what's happening. So again, still waiting for that 60k level to be tested before we can get a decision whether we will stay above 60k and then see momentum coming in and a move higher, or whether we will actually break below 60k again and then see a bigger correction, probably into the direction of 55k. So still not a lot of volume right now. We need to wait for some more trading in Europe to start picking up and giving us some more momentum here. But again, I really think once we go to the 60k direction, we will see exactly that. And that's going to be the decisive moment that we're waiting for right now, this European morning, Asian afternoon. So now we're seeing some more momentum coming to the market. Volume still needs to climb up to support that. But again, we might not see a full retracement to the 60k level, which will be good for us if we actually see price pulling back before we're getting even close to the 60k level. That will be a strong sign that we will continue upwards. And next we need to break here again, 61,347 level. We want to see an hourly close above that. We want to see an hourly close making a new all-time high. And then the way upwards is open. So again, waiting for momentum to come in the market, and we might be at the turning point right here. We might be at the turning point just shy of that 60k level that we're watching in order to get some momentum to come back into the market, to make that pull up over 61,300 level, and then make a new all-time high, get us that hourly close above 62k, and then the way towards 64, even 70k is open. There is again still not a lot of leveraged money in the market right now, as I've shown you before. I'll show you again, and that is a very good sign for us. That means there's definitely a lot more room on the upside in the cards. So let's take another look then at the funding rate for Ethereum and for Bitcoin to give you an idea of what I'm talking about when I'm saying there's not a lot of leveraged money in the market on this move. So let's look at Bitcoin first, and then we're gonna look at Ethereum again, but it's pretty much the same picture. So what you can see here is the funding rate, perpetual funding rate for the Bitcoin futures across all exchanges. So that really means how many people are trading futures right now, how many people are in the market with a leverage position. And as you can see, on previous occasions when we made the all-time high around 57k, funding rate was quite high. As you can see here, it spiked here. And that really means there's a lot of leveraged positions in the market. So any small retracement can lead to triggering their liquidation prices, their stops. And then we can see accelerated moves to the downside, as we've seen here, down to 46k. And the same again with the all-time high around 61k. Funding rate was quite high at 0.128%. And then the profit taking that pursued led to a lot of liquidation, so to move lower at around 51k. Now with our resumed upwards trend and our move above 60k again, we can see that the funding rate is actually quite low. So that's really a very good sign, because what it tells us is that there's not a lot of future positions open right now. There's not a lot of over leveraged trading going on. And that's really a very good sign, because what it allows us to understand is that if we see a move to the downside, if we see a further correction, that will actually be limited. And we can go over to Ethereum real quick here to show you the same thing. As you've seen in the past, we made all-time highs with a very high funding rate, which led to accelerated selling on the downside and to quite big retracements. Same happened again when we made our new all-time high around 1,900. Now for the move up above towards or above the 2k level, the new all-time highs on Ethereum that we've seen, funding rate has actually been declining. So that's a very good sign. That's a very good sign for us that there's more upside in the cards, and even if we're gonna see a bit more of a retracement, that it will not be that strong. So let's go back here to our Bitcoin 15-minute chart and watch the price action. We still don't have a lot of volume coming in here at this stage. But again, the rejection that we've seen from this move upwards here, it was very weak. It was very calm. And so that's really a good sign for us that we're staying over that important psychological level, that 60k level. And again, the support, the 60k target that I've drawn in here, I'm going to show you again on the daily chart. That's really quite an important mark, because as you as you can see, after we made that all-time high of 61k and we had that retracement down towards the 51k level, we have been moving up again and trying to break over 60k quite a few times, but we've never seen a strong move as we're seeing now, as we're seeing like in the last few hours. You can see always here there was a lot of rejection, there was a lot of immediate rejection with all of these candles here, all of the wicks being fully shown, no candle bodies, so there was a lot of selling immediately when we hit that level, lots of profit taking, and definitely not a lot of momentum in the market to even come close again to the previous all-time high. But now, tonight in the Asian trading, during the Asian trading day, during your night in Europe, we have actually made it. We have actually managed to get a pull above, a very strong pull above the 60k level. And so far, if you compare it to the previous approaches of the 60k level after that first all-time high above 60k, we can see that it's actually a quite strong move. We can see the full body candle here. Not a lot of the wick is visible right now. And if we go to the 1 hour chart, we can also see that it's been a very, very healthy move up. Nothing compared to the previous moves that we had, where also the rejections that we've been seeing after trying to break that level were quite severe and quite immediate. So we're not seeing anything like that right now. There's a very, very good chance that this move will continue higher once more traders flood back into the market as the European trading starts this morning, and bring with them the necessary liquidity, the necessary volume to continue pushing up Bitcoin. I imagine really we will see possibly another pullback towards the 60k level, and latest then we will see some buying come back in, because this would also be the point where I would add to my position or open a new position if I don't have one yet. That's really what I like to do in general. I trade pullbacks in existing trends as long as the trend is still intact. That's a very high probability, high risk reward ratio setup that I can only recommend you guys try out. There's some videos on my channel explaining how it works, and there's also a free TradingView strategy that I'm sharing with you in the description of this live stream that you can use to backtest that and also live trade that. It's exactly what you can see here, the trades that this strategy has been taking on this uptrend, like buying the pullbacks below the 20 EMA and then going long into the direction of the trend. We have done the exact same thing also with this move upwards. You need to adjust a little bit depending on the market conditions, the profit factor, the average true range multiplicator that is going to define when you actually take your exit. The strategy is designed to do scalping, so it's going to take out small chunks of the market, but you can also use it to catch the bigger swings if you adjust it accordingly. So let's look at what Ethereum is doing. Usually right now when these kind of moves are happening, they are more or less, Ethereum and Bitcoin, they are more or less moving in tandem. Ethereum pretty much mirroring what's happening on Bitcoin. And now we see also, as we've seen before, a little bit more weakness on the Ethereum chart. But again, the rejection that we've seen from this new all-time high that Ethereum just made around 2,211, it has been weak. There has been not a lot of pressure towards the downside, and as I've just shown you a few minutes before, it's the same relating to the future funding rate. The future funding rates are continuously low and have been declining. So even if we see some correction, even if we see some downside, it's unlikely to trigger liquidations, it's unlikely to trigger stop positions, and so it's unlikely to accelerate the move to the downside even further. There's really not a lot of volume right now. It has been continuously declining since we've seen that move up, which is also not necessarily a bad sign. I mean, we're talking about weekend trading here right now, and as the Asian session moves into the afternoon, most people in the US are sleeping. Europe is just starting to wake up, so we can expect in the next few hours some more volume to come into the market and to help us make that next push towards a new all-time high. So now here we are again as the European trading morning starts to pick off. Still very little volume on Bitcoin right now. But again, as I've said many times, the rejection that we've been seeing here from making a new all-time high has been very weak. It's only been trickling down since then. And it's still looking very good. We're holding above the 60k level. Haven't seen any considerable move towards or below the 60k level. So there's actually a really good chance that as we continue to approach this level, there will be more buying coming into the market, preventing Bitcoin from falling below 60k and actually pushing it further upwards. So we're going to see some new all-time highs. Possibly 70k will be in reach. Let's take another look at the Bloomberg. See whether there's anything new relating to the move in Bitcoin. Anything of interest that would support a further move up. Oh, that might actually be interesting. Let's see what's this is all about. HSBC reportedly blocking investments in key Bitcoin advocate. Oh wow. So it seems like they are blocking Bitcoin. They are blocking their clients from investing in MicroStrategy. And this is from tweets and screenshots of customer emails that have been surfacing on the internet. So we have to take it with a grain of salt. So questionable whether it's really true or whether it's FUD again. Anything else? No, there's nothing right now in the news that would give us any idea of where Bitcoin is going from here. Let's take a look at my Bitcoin chart here. This is actually the Bitcoin to gold ratio, and you have quite the same trend here as well, of course, continuing to increase, which is a very good sign. There's a lot of chatter in the market over the last few months, and again to this day, that more and more crypto is actually starting to replace gold as a store of value and gold as an inflation hedge. And you can see it really here, the trend in the pink line. That's the gold ETF holdings in ounces that has continuously been going down, while there's been more and more money flowing into Bitcoin, into the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust here specifically, and the Bitcoin gold ratio has been increasing, has been continuing to rise. So that's a very good sign for the crypto market and for Bitcoin actually being taken more seriously by big investors, by the smart money that are starting to switch over from gold as an inflation hedge to using Bitcoin as an inflation hedge. And we all know inflation is continuing to be on the rise after COVID. So much money has been printed. So there's a very high chance we will see this continue. Let's see if there's some more action coming into Bitcoin right now. It's still more or less the same low volume trickle that we're seeing here. So again, I imagine that within the next few hours during European trading, we will see some more momentum coming into the market at about this level or around the 60k level. That should give us a nice push upwards from here. Let's see, is there actually any recent analysis on the Bitcoin move that I can share with you guys from the Bloomberg. Gonna switch back over, share that with you. So what are we reading here? For Mike McGlone, Bloomberg's leading commodity strategist. Let's see what his opinion is. So he's saying that the dollar is actually on the rise at the same time with Bitcoin, while the Chinese yuan is seeing some more downside. And that's a good thing. I mean, we've seen like a stronger recovery in the US right now from COVID, much stronger than in Europe, of course, where the third wave is on the rise. So it's understandable that there's more inflows into the dollar, especially also seeing how the US stock market is so strong and yields have been rising. So very attractive for investors compared to other markets. That seems to be interesting. What can we take away from this? Bitcoin as a reserve asset and its impact on the dollar. So he's also of the opinion that Bitcoin is well on its way to becoming a global reserve asset, as I just mentioned earlier, especially in relation to gold, and enhancing the value of the reserve currency, the dollar, at the same time. Oh, that's quite interesting. I wonder why that is. He's also of the opinion, as most of you know now, using Bitcoin for day-to-day transaction is not really what it's going to be used for, or has been used for, but as a store of value, it is quite interesting. And that's what we're seeing here, more and more money flowing into the Bitcoin, because right now it's actually one of the best places to put your money. It's one of the few places where you can have some stability, where you can actually park your money and at the same time make very interesting gains that no other asset on the market is offering right now. So continue to switch back, seeing a more enhanced downside slope, a trickle to the downside on very, very low volume. Always have to consider when you're looking at these moves whether there's volume behind them or not, and as you can see, there's literally no volume behind it. Has been decreasing continuously since we had that spike up, and again, that's also a good sign. Not a lot of traders in the market right now, and we're waiting for them to come back to buy, because obviously there's also no selling pressure here at this point. And really, if there hasn't been any selling pressure so far after we made this move higher, there's no good reason for more selling pressure to come in right now. All the big players, they will certainly already have taken their profit, and that was the little indecisive move around this doji that we've seen here. And now there's some action coming in. Now there's some more volume coming in and some move towards the 60k level, and it's going to be really decisive. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens at the 60k level. Will we be able to see some buying coming in at this level, or will Bitcoin actually break down below it again? If we do break down below, that would definitely mean there's some more downside in the cards towards the 55k level. But again, and let me show you this again, there's not a lot of leverage positions open right now in the futures market, and that means that any move downward that we will see most likely will be limited because of that missing leverage positions, because of missing stops and liquidations that would otherwise be triggered. So we can see here again, as we've mentioned or talked about earlier during the stream, all the previous all-time highs in Bitcoin, they were actually on very, very high funding rates. So that means a lot of open positions, a lot of long positions open in the future market. And then any kind of retracement, any kind of profit taking led to liquidating all of these positions, and so to big moves to the downside. And now on this move higher above 60k, we have actually seen declining funding rate. So that's a very good sign that there's a lot more room to run to the upside, and also at the same time that any move to the downside will be contained by not triggering liquidations, by not triggering any over leveraged orders that might be in the market. So let's have a quick look at what Ethereum is doing. also continuing to trickle downside on a little bit more volume compared to Bitcoin. But still, it's the same here. We've seen only very, very weak rejection or very weak correction on this move upward on this new all-time high of 2200. And so it's really pretty much the same for Ethereum as for Bitcoin right now. Very, very nice looking chart, and a very good possibility to see more upside, to see Bitcoin and Ethereum making new all-time highs in the next few hours. So while we wait for Ethereum to continue and for Bitcoin to continue ripping higher, I actually want to share with you, let me switch back to the Bloomberg. Actually want to share with you one of my favorite positions right now in the stock market, which is Vuzix. Actually very great, very promising company. They're a manufacturer of augmented reality smart glasses, mostly selling to the industrial space and to military, and they're one of the main providers in this market right now that I believe is going to take off really big over the next few years. I actually got in around here, around the 4 USD, before it's been completely going berserk. I've already made like over 700% on this position, and it's a very, very promising long-term investment that I can only recommend to you guys. I mean, getting in at this point, getting in at this all-time high, it's never something I would recommend, but we've been seeing quite a run up with a lot of heat, a lot of pressure towards the upsides. So actually what you might expect is that we will be seeing a pullback, and maybe to the 20 USD region. And when we see that pullback, that might be a good area for you guys to enter, to get in on that action on Vuzix. I'm pretty sure over the next few years they will continue to move up. At 30 USD right now they are considerably undervalued, and I'm pretty sure that we will see some more upside on this. You can actually see what the analysts are saying. So we have two buy recommendations, one hold, one sell. The buy was at a target price of 30, so that's already been hit. And no more recommendations at this point in time. But it's going to be really interesting to see where Vuzix moves. And again, the augmented reality space, it's just incredible, and it's only the beginning. There's so many interesting companies out there that unfortunately are not traded publicly that I would really like to invest into in the augmented reality space. For example, Nreal, if you don't know it, check it out, nreal.ai. It's an amazing product that's slowly coming to the market in Europe and in the US as well. Augmented reality glasses you can connect to your Android phone. Fortunately not publicly traded, otherwise I would be already in. Another of my stock trades that I'd like to share with you is Razer, the manufacturer of gaming laptops and gaming equipment. And I really feel I'm using their stuff myself. It's very, very good quality, probably the best quality laptops in the Windows space that you can get. And they have actually not been profitable so far, but they've seen huge growth and they've built a huge brand. So I really think they are about to blow up completely. Right now you can still get in at like just about 30 cents USD, which is quite a bargain if you ask me. And they're just going to start turning profitable within the next quarters. So I can only recommend you check out Razer and consider like building a position in it. I'm already long since they were like at around 10 cents, I believe. And really, really promising stock right there. So let's check back on Bitcoin so we don't miss out on what's happening. And that actually looks very interesting right here. We had some further move to the downside, closer to the 60k level, but immediately you can see with the long wick candle here, immediately there was some buying coming into the market and on higher volume as well. So that's a very good sign. That's exactly what we're looking for, to get a rejection of or above this 60k level right here, and the continuation of our move higher to make a new all-time high. So that's very promising. Let's see, Ethereum probably is doing the same. Yeah, we can see the same here. More volume coming in, and also long wick candle seeing some rejection of this level of the downside, and again giving us a promise of more upside to come. So now it might get interesting, guys. We might be seeing some more volume coming into the market, so let's stay watching, let's stick to it, and let's see whether Bitcoin can actually make it, whether it can break out further from here. And there it is, that's looking good. That's exactly the price action that we want to see. Volume now above average compared to the last 2-3 candles. And now we need to see more volume, more momentum coming in to actually give us that move upwards that we've been waiting for the last few hours after that first rise over the 60k level. And again, that we've been staying over 60k so far with the profit taking that we're seeing is a very, very good sign. And it's likely that now we will see the continuation of that, seeing new all-time high. Next target 62k, and then beyond that, once we break 62k and we get an hourly close above that, we are golden. We are gonna take off, and the hourly candle also looks quite nice right now. So all in all, very good setup. If you haven't already opened a position, if you're looking for an entry, then this area right here might actually just be it. We can wait for this 15-minute candle to close in about 2 minutes. And if it closes like this kind of hammer formation in the candle, then it will be giving us a good indication that the tides are about to turn again to the upside. And that can actually be a good high probability and a good risk reward ratio entry that you can take right here. And there it is, more momentum coming in, looking stronger by the minute. That's exactly what we want to see. And as you can also probably see, my charts are rather clean. I focus mostly on doing or looking at price action, and you probably heard it before, but actually any indicator that you might use, all they do is reflect price action and add some lag to what you're seeing. So it's not actually that there is any indicator that will tell you more than just looking at the price action and looking at the volume. What I do is really combine price action together with fundamental analysis, as I've been sharing with you. And let's go back to the fundamentals to give you a better understanding of what I mean by that. So we have right here our glassnode studio, where we can see the most important fundamental information about Bitcoin, about other cryptos as well. So right now here we are looking at the perpetual future funding rate of Bitcoin. And what that means is it gives us an idea about how many people are in the market trading futures, how much leverage is there in the market right now. And you can see in the past when we hit this all-time high at around 55k, for example, we had a quite high funding rate, and that was what led to this tough decline. After people were taking profits, that was triggering liquidations of all these leveraged positions, and then we corrected down to 45k. Same happened when we hit the next all-time high at around at around 61k, very high funding rate, and then that was what allowed us actually to see that drop towards 51k. At the same time, you always see like the funding rate, so the number of leveraged positions declining. And now that new rise over 60k, we actually see it happened on a declining funding rate. So there's less leverage in the market right now. That means we have much more upside potential at this point in time, and we also do have much more of an insurance that if we do see some downside, it will not be able to extend that far. It will be contained because there's not going to be as many positions that will be liquidated on that correction. And now we actually had the close of that 15-minute candle that I mentioned, that you could use as an entry right here. We had increasing volume of that as people started buying. There's probably some buy orders that were positioned right here between like that 60k support level that we've been looking at and right this level here. And now we need to continue watching closely. You could have entered on the close of this 15-minute candle, and we need to continue watching closely what's going to happen now. We still need to have to wait for more momentum, more volume to come into the market. But again, even on this low volume, it's been a very good sign that we did not even touch the 60k level again so far, and that we did not even test it. So a test of the 60k level is still in the cards. I mean, at this point in time, we're closer to that than to making the next new all-time high. But the chances actually, with the way the price action is behaving right now, are really, really good that we will see some more buying coming into the market right now as Europe wakes up, as all the traders start getting to their terminals and start looking at the overnight action. And then it's very likely that they will be looking to buy this small dip that we've been seeing forming over the last few hours, and they will build their positions here to be able to take part of that next move higher. And that's also exactly what I would recommend to do at this point in time, seeing how we had this green hammer candle forming and now starting to see more upside. Also, if we look at the 1 hour chart, this candle looks very healthy. Still 42 minutes to go on that hourly candle, but if it keeps green, if it closes like that, if it pushes even further, that will be very good for us, and that will help us get momentum back into the market and make that next push higher that we're looking for to make a new all-time high this morning during the European trading. Ethereum more or less following Bitcoin to the T again, doing the same thing. Also very possible that it will continue to make new all-time highs today. I'm actually already up like 1,700, 1,800% on my Ethereum position now, the new position that I opened last week. So very, very promising. My Bitcoin position, the last one I opened in my live trading account, is around, I think, 300, 400% in the plus right now. So it's been very good trades the last few weeks following this meteoric rise of Bitcoin and Ethereum. And you can do that too, guys. Really, it's all comes down to your mindset ultimately. But when you do trading, any kind of trading, you always just, it sounds simple and it really is, you always just want to be on the side of the trend. You want to look at price action to understand whether you're in an uptrend or a downtrend. An uptrend really just means making higher highs and at the same time higher lows continuously, as you can see here. And whenever we see a pullback happen in an uptrend, for example, like we've seen here, that's a great opportunity to enter. As long as this pullback doesn't go as low as the last higher low and invalidates our uptrend, it's a very good point to enter, and it's very high risk reward ratio. That's what I'm doing personally on all my trading, and I can highly recommend that you get into that. Try it out. The trading strategy that I'm providing for you in the description of this stream, it's actually doing exactly the same. It's looking for pullbacks towards the 20 EMA, like we had one here, in an uptrend, and then it opens a position. As you can actually see right here, it would have opened a long position at this point in time, so perfectly catching this pullback in the uptrend, and still long to this day. So let's look at that. Look at the entry here. That would have already been 30% unleveraged over the last 44 days. So quite a nice trade, quite a nice opportunity. And you can do the same. The only thing really that's going to be a challenge is your psychology, is your mindset. It's ultimately really easy to be a good analyst, to look at the charts and to see the key levels and to trade on these key levels. But what is going to mess you up is your mindset. And that's mostly gonna be down to you trading too big of a position size. So I can only highly recommend that once you make your trading plan, you need to stick to it. And if you can't stick to it, you have to reduce your position size until you get more comfortable trading larger sizes and being able to stick to your plan. That's going to be the key. That's going to make or break your trading. That's going to be the difference between being consistently profitable or losing everything over time. So you can check out my videos on my YouTube channel where I'm explaining all of that to you, the strategies to get good entries, as well as the keys of trading psychology that will actually allow you to become consistently profitable. So do check it out, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and there will be much more coming to help you become consistently profitable traders in the upcoming weeks and months. So still kind of slow here. A little bit less volume so far in the next 15-minute candle on Bitcoin. But I'm still really confident with the price action that we've been seeing, that we will see a continuation of this move higher, making new all-time high this morning, this Saturday. Alright guys, so we're back here with the Bitcoin price action this morning. Actually now the next two 15-minute candles are more to the downside again, so more likely that we will see a touch of this 60k level, which will decide whether we will continue upwards or downwards at this point. If we see a breakdown below the 60k level, there's more downside into the cards, first to 58k and then even down to 55k. So let's look at the hourly chart. Yeah, also the hourly candle turned red again. That little bit of upside that we were seeing has been faded, but as you can see, the volume has been continuously declining the last 3 hours. So that still is a sign that the moves that we're seeing right now, they are not really indicative of how the price action will continue. As soon as we see more volume coming into the market, as soon as there will be more momentum, we will see the real decision today whether we can or cannot make a new all-time high, and whether the uptrend will ultimately continue or whether we will see some more extended correction to the downside. So very exciting. Again, as I've showed you before, let's go back to look at the fundamentals. Let's look at Glassnode Studio again, where we can see, let me switch over there. So here we're looking at the future funding rate in the crypto market, and what it's telling us that currently the funding rate is much lower than it has been through the last peaks, through the last all-time highs, and that's actually a good sign. It's telling us two things. One, there's definitely more upside in the card as more people get long, pushing Bitcoin further. And two, any correction that we might be seeing right now, or that we will be seeing, will be contained. We are unlikely to see a large move to the downside, because there's not a lot of leverage in the market and there's not a lot of positions that will be liquidated as a result, allowing the price to be pushed further down. It's pretty much the same situation for Ethereum right now. Let's have a quick look at that as well. Here you can see, as we made these new all-time highs over 2k, the funding rate has continuously been declining. So the same for Ethereum, more upside in the cards right here, because the market is not over leveraged right now, which is a very good and a very healthy thing for our for our uptrend to continue here this Saturday. And as you know, the last few weeks, the last few months, we have continuously made new all-time highs over the weekend. So there's a very good chance the same thing will happen again. We did not go back to even touch the 60k level, very important support level right now, very important psychological level for all traders in the market right now. We did not hit it again, and so far that's a very good sign. We need to keep this up as more volume and more momentum will come into the market now, during European traders starting to go to the terminals and starting to position themselves for this next move higher or lower. And right now it really still looks like we will get a new move higher. We will make a new all-time high above 62k, and then possibly even push up further a few more thousand USD to go somewhere into the direction of 65 or even 70k. It's all possible once we get that hourly close above 62k. There's a lot more upside in the cards for Bitcoin. And still, the rejection from this move higher above 60k has been very weak so far. There has been some profit taking, but there has not been a strong rejection. So that is a very, very good sign that we will actually see more upside at this point. And after we hit that velocity, after we moved over 60k, volume has been declining continuously over the last 3 hours. So the price action that we're seeing right now, it's not really indicative of whether we will get a move higher or lower, but all it's telling us really is that there were not a lot of traders and not a lot of orders in the market at this level to sell, which is really a good thing at this point. And so it's very likely that we might see some more strength, some more momentum coming into the market to the upside very soon. Let's quickly switch back to the Bloomberg and see if there's actually any news about Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrencies. No, there's nothing right now, nothing that we should be aware of, nothing that came out. Let's look at the top news real quick and see if there's anything that we can consider while we're waiting for Bitcoin making the next move higher. And as you can see, there's nothing really about Bitcoin. Let's make a general search and see if there are any relevant news, any hints that we can get to see if there's something new about Ethereum hitting the all-time high. So yeah, we know that Bitcoin has been trading between 57 and 61k, just shy of the previous all-time high of 61,742 that we reached on March 13th. And Ethereum again made a new all-time high, which is pretty amazing. And maybe this time around Ethereum will actually pull Bitcoin along as more money is flooding into both of them. Yeah, that's also what we're seeing here. Ethereum could outperform Bitcoin, and that's actually something that is quite likely, seeing how Bitcoin has already gone and run so far. And Ethereum with 2000 USD, it's still quite undervalued, and there's still a lot more room to the upside, of course, compared to Bitcoin. And Christie is starting to auction CryptoPunk NFTs. That's certainly also good news, seeing how it really means that the whole crypto space is continuing to taking like a foothold in the mainstream world. And that's also something that we've already discussed a bit earlier in the stream, but let's go into it again for all of you guys that just joined new. So Bitcoin continues to displace gold as an inflation hedge, which is really a very, very important thing to consider, seeing how gold has been historically the inflation hedge. No alternative really. And now we see continue to inflation to go up as a result of all of that money that has been printed during and after the pandemic. And actually we've been seeing that there's a lot of money being created, and that's why a lot of investors are looking for places to put their money where they can actually store value safely and at the same time maybe even make a profit. So Bitcoin, crypto in general, is definitely that space where right now as an investor you can actually make sure that you're not losing money due to inflation. And as you can see here, over the last months already, since August 2020 actually, the inflow of funds into gold, they started to slow down and then started decreasing, continued to decrease to this very day, while at the same time the fund flows into Bitcoin have continuously been increasing, although at a slower rate. It's quite indicative for the fact that gold is actually being replaced as an inflation hedge, at least to a large degree, by Bitcoin. You can also see here they're sharing with us the Google trend for buying Bitcoin, which has seen kind of interesting, actually a double top over the last few months, and now has been a little bit declining. So maybe that means we need to see the mainstream trend to get a little bit stronger before we can make a strong move higher on Bitcoin, but I guess that remains to be seen. Let's see what else they are mentioning here in this analysis. Yeah, that's also quite interesting correlation that we can see here. So let me actually pull up the 10-year real yield for you. So that is the inflation adjusted US bond yield. And as you might have been monitoring yourself, as you've been seeing in the last few months, that actually what was also responsible for a bit of a retracement that we've seen in the stock market. So the yields have been rising considerably since beginning of January for the US 10-year yields, and that's usually an early indicator of how the economy is going to develop, how investors are going to place and where they're going to place their money. And this has been very strong signal for the US dollar. The US dollar has gained strength since then. And the interesting thing that we're seeing here, what they're talking about, is also the correlation between Bitcoin moving higher and bond yields moving higher at the same time. So we're seeing that this trend that continues of US bond yields moving higher, that's actually also impacting the Bitcoin prices to a large degree. which is a very good thing. So we're likely to see yields increase even further. This is actually the S&P 500 index versus the yields, and you can see that there's also like a negative correlation. We will go into that in some more detail right here, but let me just add Bitcoin into this chart here so we can have a look live. Yeah, you can see Bitcoin is correlated positively right now with the real yields. And we can also load in the standard 10-year yield. You can see the same thing, even though the curve has been flattening a little bit. It's very good to see that Bitcoin has actually been moving alongside the 10-year yield. And so it's the most promising asset right now to protect your funds, to even make some gains while you're protecting your funds, with a downside risk that seems to be getting lower as volatility in Bitcoin continues to decrease. So anything else interesting we can take away from this article? Doesn't seem that way right now. So let's check back on the charts what's actually happening with the Bitcoin prices right now as we continue to wait for possibly this test of the 60k level here, this important support level right now, psychological barrier that we crossed just a few hours ago. And now we can see there's still low volume. Volume continues to decline, which is a good sign in terms of the price action that we're seeing here. That is not really indicative in regarding to whether we will see a move higher or lower at this point in time. I am pretty sure that latest when we approach that 60k level, there will be some orders already in the market there, and there will be other traders coming into the market at this point in time, either looking to buy or sell. And whichever side wins this fight will obviously decide over the fact whether we will be able to make a push higher now, whether we will be able to make a new all-time high this morning, or whether we will actually break below 60k again and then see some more downside on Bitcoin. Personally, I believe the 60k level will hold this time and that we will be able to make another move higher. I've been talking about this before, but let's quickly get into it again. A lot of it really, besides looking at price action, depends on the fundamentals, and that can give us a good idea about what is to happen and what's not about to happen. So, and seeing how the funding rate is considerably lower on Ethereum, and let's go to Bitcoin, which means there's not a lot of leverage positions in the market, not a lot of open future trades, and positioning has been declining while we have been seeing this continued rise. So that means two or actually three things. Like, one, the rise is due to Bitcoin being bought over the counter. So there's a lot of people actually buying Bitcoin right now, not with futures, but with hard cash, which is a good thing. And on the other hand, what it's telling us is that if there is going to be downside on Bitcoin right now, if there's profit taking, that profit taking will most likely not end up being an accelerated move. It will be contained by the fact that there's not a lot of leverage positions that are in danger of being liquidated, and these liquidations would otherwise continue to push the price down further. But we see there's not a lot of leverage, so this is not going to happen. At the same time, what we could also see is, let me go back to the chart, let me just quickly find it. We saw that there was not a lot of money flowing into the exchanges, that actually money has been flowing out of the exchanges, and that is usually a good sign, because that means these smart money investors, they are positioning themselves to actually stay into their Bitcoin positions longer term. If there's money flowing into the exchanges, that usually is a sign that there's a lot of selling pressure. And the big money, the smart money, they buy OTC, and if they move money, if they move Bitcoin onto the exchanges, that's only for the reason of selling and profiting of prices. But now, as you can see, while we had Bitcoin prices moving higher above 60k, we actually had a continuous decline of funds on exchanges, which really means that all of these investors are positioning themselves to get more out of their positions, to stay long on their positions and not to sell at these prices in the market. So let's switch over real quick 2-hour trading view chart so that we don't miss any of the price action. I'm gonna do some more fundamental analysis right after. So still only very little volume, not a lot going on right now, and it's still all about that 60k level. We see on the 1-hour chart here in that active 1-hour candle there's quite a bit of indecision, having a red doji forming right now. 4 minutes left on that hourly candle, so we will see if we're able to actually continue that trend downwards at this point to test the 60k, or whether we will see a turnaround even before that. Ethereum is doing pretty much the same thing. Yeah, although you can see the downside we have here is even a bit stronger, and volume already started to rise again on Bitcoin on the hourly chart here. So usually Ethereum is following Bitcoin. The last few weeks or months in times it has been the other way around. So let's see if maybe this time around, this move around, Ethereum will be the leading indicator. But seeing how Ethereum already made that new all-time high, that would mean we might see the same on Bitcoin coming in as well. So let's switch back to the Bloomberg, check if there's any news, anything interesting that we can work with while we wait for volume, for momentum to pick up. Actually see Bitcoin futures and Ether CME futures, they are not trading over the weekend. They closed at 58,700 and 2,090 respectively, and they will be quite in for some surprise when future or conventional future markets continue trading on Monday. Let's maybe look at this research report here. They are asking, after the top of 60k, whether we will see another 2017 style rally, and that's exactly what we're here, what we're waiting to happen, what we're expecting to happen right now. And they make one important point I already mentioned before, which is really quite important, because volatility has been falling in the crypto markets over the past few weeks. It's been continuously falling since already the end of last year, and that's overall a very good thing, because it means that it makes Bitcoin and Ethereum even more attractive for institutional investors, for smart money investors, because ultimately they're always looking for the best combination of returns and security, and Bitcoin is really starting to shape up to be just that, with this decreasing level of volatility, making it much more secure, at the same time really providing awesome returns and awesome upside. So what are they talking here? They're comparing this to the 2017 move, where we had a low of 777 and a high of just shy of 20k. So they're saying continuous institutional demand and the new 1.9 trillion COVID relief package were actually partially responsible for lifting Bitcoin by 30% this March in 2021. So historically speaking, they say second quarter of the calendar year is typically a positive yielding quarter for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Since 2011, Bitcoin has returned on average 256% in the second quarter, while Ethereum has returned on average 141% when looking as far back as 2016. So what am I saying? Assuming like similar levels in the second quarter, one could expect it to trade at roughly 209,000 USD as of 1st July 2021. So that's amazing, guys. That's exactly what we're looking for. Not only a break above 100k, but possibly even targeting 200k. So much upside. I mean, can you imagine if we would actually be able to move that high on Bitcoin? That would be so amazing. That would completely change the space. I mean, you could imagine on that move higher, there would certainly be a lot of more institutional investors, Fortune 500 companies getting in on it, following Tesla's move into the space. And they're saying if they only consider the median return of 39.5% for the second quarter, then we could end up around roughly 82k on the 1st July of 2021. A bit more conservative, so maybe also a bit more realistic as a median target, but still that's 20k away from where we're right now. So lots of upside, lots of possibilities for all of us to make profits as we make this move higher. So that's really awesome perspective or prospects, if you so will. So let's see if there's anything else interesting. No, that's about it for this research article. But quite amazing outlook, guys. If we make it to 80 to 200k, that will be a huge percentage gain. Nobody really is believing in that right now in the mainstream, and it will completely change the perspective on the mainstream of Bitcoin. I mean, at one point in time, we really have to wonder whether central banks will get into this game as well, and whether they will be forced to start buying Bitcoin at this point in time, just because otherwise they would be left out of it completely once this takes off. I mean, they certainly have the deep pockets to get in and buy Bitcoin even at these high levels, even at the 200k price point, but their balance sheets, especially considering like how much money they've been printing, injecting into the economy, could certainly need an asset that is actually outperforming all of the other assets that they're holding without them having to push up the markets themselves artificially. Although if you so will, if you consider this Bitcoin move, especially considering how for many institutional investors, for many smart money investors, it is an inflation hedge, it's certainly also driven by the central bank policy that we have been seeing over the last year, over the last months, in reaction to that pandemic situation. So now it looks again like we might see a turnaround here. Still, volume has been continuously declining, still is on the decline. So not really indicative for what's going to happen. We still are waiting for more volume to come into the market, and we might be at that point here. So guys, let's wait and see if we can get more volume into the market, if we can get Bitcoin to turn around away from the 60k level and make a new all-time high. That's exactly what we're waiting for. That's exactly what we want to see. And maybe what would also be interesting is to get an idea whether miners are selling right now, or whether they have actually started to sell less Bitcoin, because that's usually they have of course a very good feel for the market. I mean, they're controlling as it stands the supply, and so that can give you a good indication of whether they will be of whether they will be selling, or whether they will be sticking with the supply that they're sitting on. And that of course in turn means that they are looking, or they're expecting rising prices. So that can give us a good indication as well for where the Bitcoin price is going. Let me take a look here. I can find the right chart to share with you guys to show you what the miners are doing. Alright, let's switch over to glassnode. So of course, yeah, we know mining difficulty continues to increase, hash rate continues to increase. That's not what we're looking for. Looking for the miners' revenue. So that has been going down and has stayed steady at this level. And what that really means, while we've seen price increase, is that miners have actually stopped selling. So they are selling much less Bitcoin right now, probably just as much as they need to cover their costs and to keep their operations running, but they're not selling large amounts of Bitcoin. And that's indicative, of course, for what I just said, for them also expecting a further rise in prices. So that's very good news as well. Let's have a look at what's actually happening with the grayscale fund flows. So the Grayscale holdings over the last few weeks, they have actually plateaued. So Grayscale has stopped buying, same for the Ethereum fund. And this could actually be indicative of either of two things. I mean, Grayscale has mostly been used by institutional investors that are otherwise not allowed to get their feet wet in the crypto market. So it might mean that this specific target group that they have is saturated at this point in time. And so there are no continuous inflows into the fund, and also as a result, not more buying at these high levels. But it might also give us an indication that this target group and that these funds, that they're actually expecting that we might see a market top right here. As you can see, the Grayscale premium, so the price that you have to pay on top over the actual Bitcoin price when you want to get into the Grayscale fund, that has been continuously decreasing, and the same for Ethereum. I believe that might not necessarily though be indicative of us having a market top. It might also just be due to the fact that new possibilities to actually get invested in Bitcoin have been becoming available over the last few weeks. For example, that exchange traded fund, that ETF from Canada that has been launched, that gives a different possibility to get into the crypto market at actually lower premiums compared to the Grayscale funds, and with no lockup period and things like that. So maybe also the premium was to a large degree due to the fact that Grayscale was actually one of the only ways for like this specific in institutional investor group to be able to buy into Bitcoin. And now that there's different possibilities available and it's becoming more mainstream, we see less of a premium on Grayscale. That makes actually also more sense if you look at like the time frame here. Premium has been dropping from January on, and that's roughly around the time where this new fund became available. The assets that they have under management still continue to rise, so that's also a good thing, not necessarily indicative on a market top. And a little bit of a different story for the Ethereum fund, if we look at this here. So let's quickly switch over back to our Bitcoin chart so we don't miss any of the price action. Looks like we're actually seeing volume pick up and some momentum coming back into the market. So maybe we're seeing a turnaround here. Still didn't hit the 60k level, so that's actually a really good thing. Might see a continuation of the move higher just now. Volume continues to increase right now on this 15-minute candle. So this might be the moment that we've been waiting for the last few hours, guys, while we've been watching this retracement. Let's see what Ethereum is doing. At the same time, yeah, we see a turnaround here as well, albeit still on declining volume, so wouldn't give too much credibility to that at this point in time. But at least we're seeing the turnaround happening now, which is a very good sign, if you ask me, seeing how we still have not even tried breaking below 60k again, which gives us a lot of credibility for a move higher from this point. And as you can see, volume continues to spike up on this 15-minute candle, and we have 5 minutes left on it. So this might just be it. We need to keep watching now. This might be the pull up, the break upwards that we have been looking for at this point in time. So very, very interesting price action this morning, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen together with all of you guys. So the question at this point in time, really, as I said, is can we see that close over 62k, hourly close above 62k ideally, because that would most likely mean that there's more of an upside in the cards for today, and that's what we're looking for here right now. So let's stick with the chart for now and see if we can get that move higher. Let me just change some of my config here, and then we're gonna be focusing right back on the charts, giving you the most up-to-date analytics while we approach the new all-time high. And guys, I really think we can make it this morning. It looks increasingly likely looking at the price action that we're seeing right now. Volume continues to pick up, as you can see, now almost above the average of the last couple of 15-minute candles that we've been seeing. So definitely means some more action, some more traders coming into the market right now, which is exactly what we need to continue this move higher. So much potential. Will we see 70k this weekend? Will we even see 80k? Or will Bitcoin turn around, close below 60k, and start possibly not that big of a correction, but definitely a correction from this point in time? What's your opinion actually? Drop it in the chat, let me know. Also, if you have any questions, if you would like to see any specific like fundamental or technical analysis of any crypto or any stock or option future, we can do all of that here together. I'm gonna share with you all my insights and all the tools I have available to get the best analysis live for you while we wait for the break above 60k. Now there it is, volume is coming in and we're actually moving higher. I really like the way this 15-minute candle is shaping up. That's looking very promising right there. Very, very promising. That's just the volume that we've been waiting for. Look at it right there. And that might just be the start of the next move higher right here. While this develops, let's quickly check back on our Bloomberg terminal whether there's any relevant news coming in. Also gonna check on the Bloomberg crypto chat what these guys are saying to share with you. If they have some insights, that would be interesting for us as well. But doesn't really look like there's much action there. All the institutional traders are taking the weekend off, so it's more or less a retail party right now. And now this 15-minute candle, it closed, and just the way we wanted it to, giving us a nice possible turnaround here. And continuing in the green on the next 15-minute candle was some nice volume on that move. Let's see what the, wow, yeah, the 1 hour chart, it looks really nice, even though volume is still not where I would like it to be. This definitely looks like a continuation of the uptrend right there. Let's check on Ethereum real quick. Same thing here, although this candle has been shaven right now and continues to be shaven. Let's look on a lower time frame what is actually happening on Ethereum right here. So we had a similar pattern of price turning around, similar to Bitcoin, but there's still a little bit of indecision, more volume coming in to Ethereum again as well, like we've been seeing on Bitcoin. So now it's going to get interesting, guys. Let's quickly check the daily chart again. That still looks like a very, very healthy daily candle. And like there is a lot more upside in the cards today. So as I said, it's a pretty good sign that we didn't actually hit 60k again towards the downside so far, making me very, very confident that more upside is in the cards at this point in time. Possibly still a good area here to build or add to your position if you don't have one yet, considering how this is a nice pullback on low volume, most likely indicating a trend continuation in the next few hours. So, and historically the last few weeks, the last few months, we've always seen that weekends can actually be very, very good for Bitcoin to make huge moves, to make new all-time highs. Still, as we discussed earlier, and we can look at it again real quick right now, there is not that many people trading futures right now. Not a lot of people actually long in the future market. So it really remains to be seen when more volume will come into the market and when more volume will allow us to push to a new all-time high. Wait, let me pull it up for you again. Right here. So here you can see the future funding rate, meaning how many people are actually trading futures right now, are long in futures. And you can see one thing, of course, there's many more people long than short, but the future funding rate is quite low at this point in time as we make this new push through 60k. For the last all-time highs, it has always been very high, and that has actually led to the possibility for more downside as all these positions get liquidated on some profit taking after the all-time highs. This right now is our strongest argument, our best argument for actually more continuation to the upside, because we don't have that right now. We don't have an over-leveraged market, and so that might actually allow us to continue higher. And even if we have some more of a correction, it will most likely not accelerate to the downside like it has before. So that makes me very confident that this bull market is not over at this point in time. And really, if you consider the other fundamentals that we've been discussing before, the inflation rising, the 10-year US yields rising, everything really seems to be leading to much more upside in the short and long term on Bitcoin. There's really at this point, at this stage, no fundamental reason for why a bear market should start. I mean, at a point in time you could argue that Bitcoin was getting a little overheated when you were looking at the way it was moving, but we had some very healthy corrections in the uptrend over the last months, and we continue to see healthy corrections as we move higher and make new all-time highs. So just looking at the price action, it's a good healthy uptrend, and considering the fundamentals right now, I mean, all the stock market is back up, money continues to be printed and pumped into the economy at a velocity, at a rate that is completely unprecedented. And investors all around the world, especially the smart money, especially the big money, they are just looking for a place to park their cash where they're not actually losing money. And you know, on your bank account you're losing money these days with negative interest rates. If you keep it in the dollar, you're losing money due to inflation, due to decreasing buying power. So really, Bitcoin is one of the very few places where you can actually park your money right now to protect it against increasing inflation. And that's just what we've been seeing happening, and that's the most fundamental driver, in my opinion, beyond like the mainstream adoption of cryptocurrencies that we're seeing. And that's exactly also what we've been seeing in relation to gold. Gold, as the most classic inflation hedge, has been seeing continuous decline in fund flows, funds flowing into Bitcoin continuously. And so that's probably the best fundamental argument that we can make for why this increase in Bitcoin prices is continue. And also, I mean, all of you know, of course, Bitcoin's supply continues to decrease, and there's a lot of big players buying up all of that supply. So what fundamental argument can we make at this point in time, beyond all of these people saying Bitcoin is a bubble, it's like Tulips 2.0, but beyond that, what fundamental argument can we actually make that Bitcoin is about to enter a bear market? I don't see any fundamental reason for that right now. I only see good fundamentals for Bitcoin as a store of value, for Bitcoin as an inflation hedge continuing to rise, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now. If we go back to the Bitcoin chart, we see buying coming into the market. We see still volume being a little bit on the low side here, but still there was no push towards the 60k, there was no push below the 60k, which still makes this a very strong chart picture right now. Very good price action, giving us an indication that actually we might see more upside now. So I'm just gonna take a really quick break running to the toilet. I'll be back with you in just a minute, so stick with me and let's watch the pump together. There I am, right back with you guys. Let's have a look at what's happening. Turning a little bit, not really a lot of action right now. Volume still low. So I was thinking, actually, let's have a look at some of the recent COVID numbers, how that has affected markets on the Bloomberg. Let's switch over there, or we wait for price action to pick up. Because this is actually what's driving the whole monetary policy of central banks recently. Of course, this is what's been driving the markets, the recovery that we've been seeing in stocks and currencies, and overall, of course, driving inflation, what we've just been talking about, and thus largely driving Bitcoin prices as well. So as we can see on the worldwide numbers on the chart here, we actually have an uptick in numbers again, numbers in cases, continuing to rise exponentially, which definitely will bring more monetary easing, more financial aids around the world, pushing inflation and also in turn pushing Bitcoin as an inflation hedge. As you can see, people are also monitoring, of course, the state of vaccinations, and there's quite a lot of countries now that have really picked up speed, that have vaccinated a lot of people, but unfortunately we're seeing these new mutations popping up, especially across Europe, that seem to be immune. So I would reckon that still for a few months to come we're actually gonna see continuation in these pandemic outbreaks, in lockdowns, in economic weakness due to that, and thus more money flowing into the market from central banks, in turn pushing again Bitcoin prices. So all in all, this is definitely in our favor. So again, still very low volume. Same on Ethereum. But as I've mentioned before, this might still be a very good point to take a position. You can wait for a possible further test of the 60k level to the downside and build a position there if it holds. You can build one here because you don't really have a lot of downside from here. Just 500 USD to see whether that test actually happens, whether it holds. But again, I would still reckon that from what we have seen after this push up that happened in the last hours, that the rejection was actually very weak. The retracement has been very weak and very soft on low volume. So there's a good chance that this level, the 60k level, might actually hold, and we're gonna see a continuation in price moving upward from here. So let's see again if there's any news on the Bloomberg that might be of interest. I mean, probably no Fortune 500 companies announcing that they're switching to using Bitcoin over the weekend, but you never know, you never know. So let's see what we can find. Anything going on that might be of interest to us. Again, one of the spotlight stories, Europe responds to the AstraZeneca shot. So again, the whole COVID narrative is still really driving markets, influencing this whole moves in a big way. I mean, personally, I'm currently in Taipei in Taiwan. Life here is pretty normal. There has been like less than 100 cases since the beginning of the pandemic. And I'm set to go back to Europe actually in a few weeks. And now they reduced flights to just once a week, even though they were back to twice a day. Guess not a lot of people looking forward to go back to Europe, seeing the situation that we're facing over there. Me personally, also not really looking forward to going back to Europe, but what can you do? But again, I really believe that we're gonna see a continued uptick in COVID cases. I mean, we're talking about further and even tougher lockdowns in the European Union right now as a result of this third wave that's picking up speed, with case numbers picking up as well due to these mutations that we're seeing that are much more infectious, and actually also in part leading to more deaths. And you can see the cases in the European Union are still picking up, even like reaching levels that we've only seen over the winter, where after like the lockdown started to take effect, helping getting numbers a little bit down. But even with all the vaccination happening, you can really see that it's not helping a lot, and that we're already seeing a considerable uptick. There's not really any country, not even the US, that has like pretty good vaccination going on. You can see in the blue line here, the curve has been flattening a little bit, but if we look at the net change, we can see that there's already starting to be a slight uptrend again, worldwide definitely, but even in all of those countries that have been vaccinating. I mean, the UK, they seem to be already through that wave with the new mutations. So right now they're actually having a positive trend, but the rest of the world, even in Asia, we're still seeing that same development. Let's see if actually we have Taiwan in that list here, just so to show you what I've been talking about. My home for the time being, and you can see the case numbers are really ridiculously low. Most of the cases they have here, yeah, like 1,000 in total. They've actually been coming from the outside, and they've probably, of all the countries worldwide, done the best job in keeping this at bay and in not letting it develop into an outbreak at all. So looking at the Bitcoin price again, there still really doesn't seem to be a lot of volume coming into the market right now. No momentum. So we need to continue to wait for the next break higher, but at this point that's still the most likely thing going to happen. So again, let me know in the chat what assets you would like to look at, what you would like to get like fundamental or technical analysis or both on. We can do all of that here while we're waiting for price action to pick up on Bitcoin and Ethereum. We have all the tools at our disposal, the Bloomberg terminal, glassnode for crypto, in order to get the best insights, fundamental and technical, into what's happening in the market and why, so that we can actually take the most informed trading decisions. And I don't think there's actually any streams out there right now that can give you like comparable amount of information, that can give you access to the Bloomberg, that can give you access to glassnode. So we really have here what everybody is looking for. We have an edge over the market, and we have the possibility to use that edge to make money, to capitalize on that, and to catch that big moves that we're all looking for to get into the market at the right moment in time. So stick with me, guys. Get the word out. Leave a like and subscribe. That would really help the channel and the stream a lot, so that we actually can continue to share all of this exclusive information and all of this exclusive insights with you. all in all, it's really been a bit of a slow morning in Europe. Not a lot of volume coming in. Guess maybe some of these traders are still sleeping. But that's of course what we need. We need volume, we need momentum to make that next move. But that gives us an opportunity to do our analysis and to position ourselves right here before money continues to push the price in either direction. And again, if you want to learn more about the strategy that I'm using here, the entry and exit signals that you can see on the chart, there's a video on my channel about that, and you can also find a link to the trading view script to the strategy right down in the description that you can use yourself to backtest it, adjust it, make it your own, and of course also use it for live trading like we're doing on our chart right here. Just checking on my own crypto positions. On my Bitcoin future trade, I'm up 367% right now. My Ethereum future trade, I'm up 1,750%. My Cardano long position, down 11%. I'm pretty sure that will pick up though. Cardano is certainly one of the most promising contenders in the space right now, possibly to even overtake Ethereum at a point in time. And right now, we can still get a very good entry. I mean, we're only at about $1.23 right now, so imagine you could have gotten in on Ethereum or Bitcoin on these kind of prices. And as you can see, also have our TradingPit scalping strategy applied to this chart here, and it has been giving us some good signals on Cardano as well, making some nice profits. And currently the strategy is also in a long trade here, entered on the retracement and still long to this day. Guys, just stick with me here. I'm just gonna be taking a short break, getting some quick food, and I'll be staying live, and I make sure to watch the charts to come back right away as action picks up, and to keep you informed with all the latest developments, all the latest analytics. So leave a like, subscribe, and stick with me. I'll stay live, just mute myself while I have a bite, and I'll be right back with you as we wait for this next move higher.
Can you see the stars align? A night like this can never rewind. Can you hear the wolf cry out to the light? A night like this I've never shined so bright. So take a couple steps back as you hear me start to howl. Take a couple steps back when I lose all control. Watch me turn into a werewolf, and I will hunt till the break of dawn. Don't you dare to try to stop me. This is the horn of the black swan. So take a couple steps back as you hear me start to howl. Take a couple steps back when I lose all control. Watch me turn into a werewolf, and I will hunt till the break of dawn. Don't you dare to try to stop me. This is the horn of the black swan. What if I go stronger? What if I get higher? What if I start doing things I know I will regret? I will make my own way, I will not surrender. I will do my best until I get put under. What if I go stronger? 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 What if I get higher? What if I
use eToro to invest in the financial markets. Steve does research on global investment opportunities. Dave does research on how to become a level 60 wizard.